In the twilight age of the Galactic Order, art had become obsolete. Creativity was no longer currency. Inspiration, once the fire that lit civilizations, was now considered a relic, soft, inefficient, illogical. Empires were built not on dreams but on data. Poetry had no purpose. Music was compressed to background noise. Sculpture was reduced to templates approved by aesthetic algorithms. And humanity, once known as the weavers of soul into sound and shape, had long since been dismissed as culturally irrelevant. But in the dust-scattered corridors of forgotten Earth, in a city abandoned to climate collapse and silence, a girl was painting. Her name was Amara Yilmaz, born beneath the crumbling domes of what was once Istanbul. Her family was among the last to flee when the ocean swallowed the Bosphorus. They resettled in the refugee spires orbiting Luna, living in cramped quarters, with rationed light and borrowed oxygen. Her mother was a historian. Her father, a luthier who had no more wood to carve. Amara was born into loss. Into memory. Into stillness. But she did not stay still. She painted with fingers, with broken glass, with borrowed flame. She painted on floors, walls, recycled hulls, even on bodies, turning skin into rebellion. Her first viral piece appeared not in museums, but in the underdeck tunnels of the Tradecast, a mural of a blindfolded child holding a star in one hand and a gun in the other. The caption beneath it simply read, "Choose." That image, raw, ugly, divine, spread like fire through compressed networks and encrypted art forums. The high councils of the sovereign systems declared it a threat to order. But it was already too late. They called her the last muse. It was not meant as praise. It was a warning. A containment. A final title for a dying role. One last ember of an old humanity they believed had no place in the present. But art, once released, cannot be recalled. It infects. Soon, her paintings were replicated on every world, on plasma-flecked battlegrounds, on prison walls, on the backs of children too young to understand but old enough to feel. Amara never claimed ownership. She said nothing in interviews. She gave no public speeches. Her art spoke for her. And what it said was dangerous. Because it made people feel again. When the Dominion of Order, keepers of interstellar conformity, deemed her illegal, it only amplified her power. They dispatched enforcers to capture her. Tracked her through solar systems. Issued threats to anyone who displayed her work. But Amara moved like mist, never in one place for long, always painting. She left images behind like whispers. A grieving father with wings made of books. A soldier cradling a robot in tears. A tree growing from the mouth of a fossilized god. Symbols too abstract for data, too intimate for analysis. The tipping point came on the fractured world of Saron Prime. There, in a forgotten dome housing orphans and elders, Amara painted a single image, a spiral galaxy, cradled in the hands of a brown-skinned child smiling at nothing. Under it were 4 words, "The future remembers you." The painting, seen only by a few refugees, somehow ignited a revolution. Local guards refused orders. The oppressed stood up. Songs, real songs, rose from the broken alleys. And in less than 2 days, Saron Prime declared itself independent from the Dominion. Other systems followed. Not because of weapons. Not because of politics. But because someone had finally reminded them of feeling. Of worth. Of hope. The Dominion did not understand. They ran psychological diagnostics. Declared mass hysteria. Accused Amara of embedding neural triggers in her art. But they could not stop it. Even AI designed to scrub and censor her imagery began to malfunction. Some reported aesthetic conflict errors. Others simply stopped working. A few, disturbingly, started creating their own art, scrawling rough sketches of faces crying or dancing or screaming, without knowing why. One AI drew a portrait of Amara, though it had never been shown her image. The rebellion became a movement. Not unified by generals or strategy, but by meaning. Artists rose. Poets wrote again. Sculptors shaped war relics into statues of love and defiance. And at the center of it all was Amara, painting not from stages or studios, but in the midst of it, on starships, ruins, cloisters, barracks, anywhere people dared to feel again. Her most famous work came during the siege of Halion Delta, a moon surrounded by war cruisers on all sides. Instead of fleeing, Amara stood outside the city gates and painted a single red line across the outer wall. Just one line. When the Dominion arrived, their soldiers hesitated. Something about the line, its length, its shade, the imperfect pressure of brush, unnerved them. No one could explain it. A commander ordered the wall destroyed. But his troops refused. One soldier claimed, "If we erase it, what's left of us?" The warships withdrew. From that day, Amara's red line became a symbol across the stars. It was painted on foreheads, on banners, on shields, on war droids who had reprogrammed themselves to protect instead of destroy. A new faction emerged, not political, not military, but creative. They called themselves the Linewalkers. They didn't fight with weapons. They fought with expression. Wherever they went, old wounds opened. Not to bleed, but to heal. And in every system they reached, power shifted. The people remembered stories, remembered grief, remembered joy. Even Dominion leaders began to crack, plagued by dreams of colors they couldn't name, emotions they hadn't felt in centuries. Amara never crowned herself. Never took titles. But they all called her the Muse. And the Dominion? They declared total war on expression. Art was banned. Paint became contraband. Music was declared treason. Sculptors were arrested. Thought itself became a battlefield. But you cannot kill art. You cannot censor a movement that lives in dreams, in glances, in the way a child holds a stick like a sword and says, "I remember." You cannot win against beauty that bleeds. The war spread. Not of missiles, but murals. And then, Amara vanished. No one saw her fall. No report claimed her capture. Only a rumor remained, that she had painted her final work on a glass moon drifting alone through Sector 9. The piece? An empty chair under a burning sky, with a single phrase. "When you feel again, come sit." That image too spread. The war never truly ended. Because now, every rebel carries a brush. Every child hums defiant lullabies. Every exiled artist finds their hands itching to create. And every system once ruled by the Dominion now carries cracks, not from impact, but from feeling. They called her the last Muse. But she was only the first spark. And the fire she lit still burns.